Here's a story that isn't getting much coverage, but it should terrify all of us. U.S. officials say proposal which needs White House approval is meant to deter Moscow aggression. Okay, so here we go again. Now, yesterday we covered the story of how Vladimir Putin retaliated against the United States' new sanctions, the third round of sanctions that the U.S. did against Russia. And finally, the first two times they didn't retaliate. This time they said, that's it. We're expelling 755 U.S. diplomats. So that marks a new low point, probably since going all the way back to the Cold War in U.S.-Russia relations. So we're already on shaky ground. This is already dangerous. This is already playing a game of chicken and escalating with another nuclear-armed power. Well, now here we go again. So this is a plan to arm anti-Russian elements in Ukraine. Now, understand something. You want to know who was a staunch opponent of this and who stopped at nothing to make sure this didn't happen? President Barack Obama. He said, look, man, we can't. I mean, if we start sending offensive weapons to anti-Russian elements in Ukraine, we're officially in a proxy war with Russia. That's a proxy war. If we do that, that's the most blatant military escalation that we could ever do. So then you're worsening the crisis, you're deepening the crisis, and you're showing aggression. And so Obama was against that. Of course, neocons were like, no, arm them, arm elements of Ukraine. Obama's like, no, I'm not going to do it. That's too far. And Angela Merkel and, the leaders in Europe are like, don't do it. Don't arm them because then you're escalating and then it's a more dire situation and then we're in a diplomatic catastrophe if you arm them. So the progressive position, the liberal position from the beginning is, relax, breathe, let's negotiate, let's do diplomacy, let's figure out how to back our way out of this and ease tensions. But see, this is the problem with the Russia hysteria that's happened recently, is that now, what are the Democrats going to say in the U.S.? Under Obama, they were clear. No, don't arm them. That's crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that. Now, what's going to happen? So the Pentagon drafts this plan to arm anti-Russian elements in Ukraine. And now if Trump says, we're not going to do that, all the Democrats are going to come out and say, see? Vladimir Putin's puppet doing the bidding of the Kremlin. Because you're not going to further escalate to a potential military conflict with another nuclear-armed power. So you agree with Obama, therefore, Kremlin puppet. Oh, no. See, what the Democratic opposition should be doing already, right now, is they should be screaming about how, whoa, Pentagon, pump your fucking brakes. Your plan to arm anti-Russian elements in Ukraine, that's a clear escalation. That's not a good idea. The leaders in Europe still say, don't arm anti-Russian elements in Ukraine. That's not good. That's going to make it harder to negotiate. That's going to make it harder to ease tensions. That's going to escalate. That's going to be a problem. But no, the opposition, now their hands are tied. And anything that comes to Russia now, they have to be hawkish. Because they have to say, you need to prove to us that you're not Vladimir Putin's bitch. So that means put NATO troops on Russia's border, do another round of sanctions, a gratuitous round of sanctions on them, arm anti-Russian elements in Ukraine. Oh, this is not good. This is not good. Because now you have an alliance between corporate Democrats and neocon establishment Republicans. And that makes up a majority, ladies and gentlemen. And this round of sanctions as well that we discussed yesterday, it wasn't just sanctions on Russia. It was sanctions on North Korea, because, those will definitely work on North Korea, a complete authoritarian regime where the regime feels none of the pain and only the people feel all the pain. And also sanctions on Iran. So in other words, the U.S. violated the Iran nuclear deal in a bipartisan fashion. And then you watch when Iran responds in kind because the U.S. violated the nuclear deal, they're going to turn around and say, okay, then I guess we'll do a missile test or something to show you that we're playing tit for tat here. Everybody in the U.S. go, oh, Iran violated the nuclear deal. I cannot believe it. But you just fucking violated the nuclear deal. So people say, oh, bipartisanship is dead. No, it's alive and well. And virtually every time the Democrats and the Republicans agree, it's a horrible idea. It's a terrible idea. You already did sanctions. Sanctions are already in place over Crimea against Russia. Now, by the way, I supported those specific sanctions. But then Obama did another round of sanctions for the so-called election meddling, which there's still been zero evidence presented that it was actually Russia that did it. No evidence presented. Our intelligence community says it. All 17 agencies. Well, it turns out it was more like 3 or 5 of them, and you just made up 17. And furthermore, since when do you just take the word of intelligence agencies? They also said Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, and they lied. They were wrong. But now all of a sudden they're right about Russia? Evidence. I need to see evidence. But so we did one round of sanctions over Crimea, another round of sanctions over supposed election meddling, and now they did a third round. The liberal position is supposed to be pump your fucking brakes, stop slapping everybody across the face and trying to escalate tensions, stop being overtly hawkish, let's ease tensions, but no. So now we're talking about maybe a plan to arm Ukraine, which would be a disastrous further escalation on top of this new round of sanctions we just did. It's like we're run by a bunch of fucking idiot monkeys incapable of rational thinking.